Hi everybody, happy Monday. Welcome to our week 5 in our Christmas adventure sew along. This has been so fun, you guys. I've been having a blast seeing all your different blocks. Some of you are using the house blocks from last week, some are using the camper blocks. It's been so fun and I'm so excited to start row 5 with you guys this week. I think you're going to have a lot of fun with this one. These little ornament blocks go together really quickly. So after all the pieces from last week with our camper blocks, I think you'll feel like, okay, phew. Now we do have a lot of ornaments to make, but there's so much just simpler overall. So I think you guys will have a lot of fun with these, and they're really fun to fussy cut. So this is what the ornaments look like before they're sewn in, and I'll scooch out of the way so you can see how they look on the finished quilt. When they are all sewn in, you can see once they're in the finished quilt, they have more of that rounded look. So we don't have any of the sashing around these, so they kind of look like more diamonds than anything else. But the thing that I love about these is that they're really fun for fussy cutting. And if you haven't ever done fussy cutting before, I'm going to give you some tips on how I do it. To make sure that it's as centered as possible and you can easily find that image that you want and how to cut it out so that it's the right size. So we're going to talk about that. Just to get a little example on my little fussy cutting there with this cute camper block, and I actually did fussy cut this one as well so that the word joy ends up in the middle. And there's a lot of fun little phrases in this Christmas adventure text print, so you can have fun and pick the phrase that you like. So we're going to talk about that, and I have a few things to show you. It's going to be a fun day. So I want to see who's here. Say hi. Shirley's here. Hey Shirley, you got so far on your quilt. You're almost done. You just have sashing left. You're a rock star. And Allison's here. Hey Allison, and I love your little houses you made. And over on YouTube we have Alini and Teresa. Hi Claudia, thanks for, Alina likes my earrings, I'm so glad. These are so fun. I just love these, well they're kind of back, no I guess they're not backwards. So they're, it's a gal called Mama's Cameo Creations, and she's on Instagram and Facebook, and so she finds all these vintage retro sort of throws and doilies and things like that, and she repurposes them for earrings, and I've rather become addicted to them. I love the extra texture, and of course you guys know I love anything handwork or stitching or anything like that, so they're really fun. I have lots of them as you probably know by now. Erin's over on YouTube today. Hey Erin, so nice to see you guys. Roxy's here. It's rainy. Hope you're doing okay, Roxy. We're supposed to get rain tonight from Ida, but I don't think it's too bad. We're under a flash flood watch, but I don't think we'll get as much as they're thinking. I don't know. Shouldn't be too bad, hopefully. Leanne, hey Leanne. And Dawn's here. You're sewing campers tonight. Yay! That's awesome. So glad you guys are all here. So we have fun things to show you guys. I wanted to show you something I bought. If you get the Sew Sampler from Fat Quarter Shop, I don't want to give anything away, but because I don't like spoilers, but it is really hard to not like show you the cute things that are in each Sew Sampler box and then kind of say, aren't these so great? But I don't want to spoil it if you haven't gotten your box yet. I will, however, give you a sneak peek, and that it is a Lori Holt fabric that is in the box this month, and I love the pattern. Love the pattern. So I am going to make it in my spare time, which I don't have any of, but I'm still going to make it. I can't wait. And so it's really cute. And so I ordered some backing fabric to go with it, and I wanted to show it to you guys because this is from Stitch, and it's one of Lori's big prints in it, and I thought it was so perfect for a backing fabric. So let me turn it around this way. It looks like it's all made up of all different kinds of cross stitches, all overlapped and vintagey. So it says like a loving heart is the beginning of knowledge, and there's a home sweet home, and these bows. Oh my goodness. So I bought a bunch of this, clearly. I have a ton of it, and I'm going to use it for the backing of the quilt that's in the Sew Sampler box. And I bought some extra too because I want to make the bigger version of the pattern that's in there. There's instructions for 2 sizes, and I want to make the bigger one. So in all my spare time, I'm going to make this, but I just wanted to show you. This is so cute, right? I love this fabric, and I linked to it in today's video description if you really love it too. We're gonna buy them all out. Okay, so I also wanted to show you, I finished my Kaleidoscope runner. I posted in the group about it. So speaking of Lori Holt, she has a book out right now called Kaleidoscope, and Fat Quarter Shop just recently finished up a sew along with it. So we didn't make the quilt from the book, but we made a runner from 2 different block sizes. So there's 3 block sizes total in the quilt. So you can make 3 different sized quilts with the block. It's really pretty. So we took 2 of those sizes, and by we, I mean I just sewed along. It wasn't my idea or anything. And made up a runner. And I was going to use this as a table, like a buffet runner, but now I'm a little obsessed with it, and I can't even show you the whole thing, you guys, because it's so big. Look at how big this is. It's enormous. I'll stick it in front of the sewing machine so you guys can see it. So that's the big block and the little blocks. You can see that they work out really well together. And I made it up in Stardust. And I used a Riley Blake solid. It's a confetti cotton, and it's called Butterscotch. But it matches with my Stardust prints perfectly. I used Butterscotch as the background for some of the prints. So you can see this is from Stardust. It's the little sparkle print, but it's the exact same color as the solid, which I love. So I am actually going to use it. In our new house, we are going to have 2 guest bedrooms. And so we are going to have a big king-size bed in one of them. And so I'm going to make a table runner. What am I saying? So I'm going to make a quilt for that bed that is from my vintage garden pattern, which, speaking of which, that is the big hexagon quilt pattern that I have. That's kind of like an oversized grandmother's flower garden quilt. Today is the last day for that quilt pattern for $5. So it's the $5 pattern of the month, and today's the last day. We're going to have a new one tomorrow for next month. So I will post in the group the link to that. I forgot to put it in today's video description. But if you go to my shop, which is linked in the video, you can find that pattern really easily. It's on the front page, I think. So anyway, I'm going to make a king-size version of that, and then I'm going to put that runner on the bottom. Don't you think that'll be pretty? I'm really excited about it. It'll make that room really vintagey and with the gold and stuff. I think it's going to be fun. I'm excited. So, hey Pam. I'm so glad you guys like it. Yes, Shirley, the new house deserves new quilts. I 100% agree with that. And I haven't really, weirdly enough, done quilts on my beds. Like, I make a lot of throw size quilts, but I just don't take the time to make them fit the beds. And that's going to change in this new house. All the beds are getting new quilts. And I'm just going to do my best to make them all my fabric, I think. Yay, Claudia. She likes the Sew Sampler boxes. Yay. Okay, so then the other thing I wanted to show you guys was my block from last week. So I'm sewing along with the Building Blocks Sew Along from Riley Blake. It's a free sew along, and it's perfect for either beginner quilters or if you want to just practice your blocks. It goes through 9 different blocks. No, is it 9? I think it's 9. Might be 12. Might be 12 blocks. I should know this. I'm sorry I don't. But anyway, they're all free, and they start with a fairly simple friendship star, and then they work up to more complicated. So you're practicing skills as you go and learning things. There's a video tutorial for every block that's really helpful, and I'm sewing along. So I'm sewing with Stardust, and I'm sewing with this natural linen that's the center of my log cabin block as my background fabric. So I went ahead and put it into the middle of this block, even though it would have been fine to use a print. I just wanted to tie that linen in a little bit more. So this is the free block from last week. Every pattern is free, and they're all 12 inches. They're really fun, and I'm just having a blast sewing along with this. So, and I think several of you guys are too. But I wanted you to see my block. I'm using the blues and greens and creams from Stardust. I'm not using any of the pinks. And it's really fun to see how the collection looks a little bit different without the addition of those pinks. And you guys know I'm all about pinks. But sometimes it's fun to kind of change up your traditional color scheme a little bit, or even just the smallest tweak, because really this isn't that different. But without the pinks, it kind of just gives the collection a different feel. So I'm really having fun with that. And that is linked in today's video description as well. You can see more info on mine, and all my other blocks are linked in that blog post as well. And you can get the link to the free patterns on Riley Blake. And you can grab those patterns even if you're not sewing along. It's really good just to have as a resource if you need, if you have a project that you want to make a log cabin for, or a churn dash or something like that. You'd have a free 12-inch finished pattern ready to go. And they just make really cute pillows too. It's real easy to take that 12-inch block and add a border around it and have a nice size sofa or bed pillow. So go download the patterns even if you're not sewing along. Yay. Let's see. Dawn, she said I could name my new house Flamingo Toast Cottage and paint it pink. I will tell you, I was highly tempted to paint the house pink. There is a old house that's on the way to, it's in the area, and every time I drive by it, I just fall in love with it. And it's not like flamingo pink, which we know is rather bright, but it is just the palest, prettiest pink. It's almost like that really soft pink that's in Stardust, but maybe even a shade or two lighter than that. Kind of where you look at it and you're like, is it pink or is it, the sky being overcast or whatever? But it is really soft and pretty. But I decided not to. We're going with white because I didn't want to, I wanted something that was long term. And fortunately, my husband was like, we can paint it whatever color you want to. But I decided to go with white. I was very tempted though, Dawn. Yay. Okay, so that's the fun things I have to show you from last week. And now we should talk about giveaways. And I think I'm forgetting something. Oh, yes. So linked in today's video description is also a link to the Fat Quarter Shop All the Trimmings Sew Along. So every summer, Fat Quarter Shop, the last several years, Fat Quarter Shop has been doing a Christmas mystery quilt along. And I've participated. This is my third year. I'm really excited about it again this year. Normally they're in July, but you guys know how it is, and everybody's so patient now with delays and things like that in fabric. It's just the world's topsy-turvy. So it's hard to plan on timing for something and not be flexible. So the Christmas sew along that is in the summer starts September 7th, which is still perfect because then we'll have our Christmas quilts all done in time for Christmas, just like we are with our Christmas adventure quilts. So it's a mystery quilt. They're releasing a block section every week. It starts September 7th with the first one, and everything is free. So we'll release the mystery block, and then you have a week to sew, and then the next one comes out. I'm sewing with Christmas Adventure. Their quilt uses a really dark gray background. It's very pretty, and I think that the collection that they're doing for the main quilt and they have kits for is called Christmas Morning. But I'm sewing with Christmas Adventure, and I'm going to use a light background. So that'll give you a nice contrast to see what a brighter collection would look like with a white background in the blocks. It's going to be really fun. And the blocks, oh my gosh, it's such a cute quilt. And I will tell you, I won't tell you anything about it other than to say, if you like this quilt that we're sewing together, I think you'll like that quilt. Not that I had anything to do with it, but just saying, I think you'll find that they play well together. So I would love for you guys to sew along with me. It's all free. You just need your fabric, and you don't have to buy the kit if you want to. They have it available for you. It's super easy. But you can also sew with your stash. So feel free to dive in at whatever way you want to. And they're doing a stitch along too. So there's a coordinating cross stitch pattern that matches it. Super cute. And they have a really cute little needle minder that matches it too. You guys, it's so cute. So if you like cross stitch and that's more your thing, you can sew along, or you can do both. So I'm only doing the quilt version because we have Garden of Quilts this week. No, not this week, but this month. And I just didn't feel like I had the time to stitch too, but it is very cute. So that's linked in today's video description. You can check it out at Fat Quarter Shop, and it has all the info on how to sew along. There's a fabric requirement sheet, and then any supplies you might want to pick up through them. It's all there. Super easy. So last week and I would love to know if you guys have any plans to sew along. Are you going to sew along with us? So leave a comment. Let me know. Erin got her package with the last giveaway. Yay, Erin! I'm so glad. I could do pink shutters, Dawn. That's true, I could. I'm going to do black shutters. I want it to be really classic farmhousey. So, anyway, aside from all that, I get too distracted. Last week's giveaway was a really fun one. I am giving away a 10-inch stacker of Stardust. So this is the other collection that's out right now. In store, it's available everywhere. It is kind of really vintagey, retro-y. This is the same fabric that we did our last sew along with, the Swinging on the Star quilt. You can see the different prints there. There's pink and aqua, olive, and gold. So this is a 10-inch stacker, same as a layer cake. It's 10-inch pieces, and there are 42 of them. And then I also have for you a little rotary mat, cutting mat. This is the same mat that I'm using in the videos. It's really handy for trimming small things like stitch and flip blocks or trimming down small half square triangles without using your regular mat. It just saves your regular mat. So really handy. This one is a 5.5-inch square and it does rotate, so that makes it nice. And then I also have for you, and it came off the packaging, I have a enamel charm of my quilt shop. So I have a whole Main Street series of quilt shops. I have of enamel charms and needle minders. So I have a quilt shop, a needlework shop, a bookshop, and a flower market. And then I have 2 new shops that will be out, I'm thinking, in about a week. They're almost here. So once they get here, then I have to assemble them and package them all up and get them ready. But I'm really excited about them. And I have a brand new fall needle minder that is releasing at the same time. So it's going to be fun around here. If the winner already has this little quilt shop, you can pick any of the other enamel charms in my shop. So I'm flexible. And our winner from last week is Anita Jackson. Anita commented over on YouTube, but you can, it doesn't really matter where you're watching. You are open for entries into the giveaways, whether you're watching on YouTube or Facebook, and whether you're watching live or later in the week, just as long as you leave a comment. And if you are sharing your photos on social media, those count as extra entries. So, Anita Jackson, you're my winner. And if you would email me, bev@flamingotoes.com, you can claim your prize. I'll need your mailing address. So you guys, I have a really fun surprise for you guys this week. This is our giveaway for this week. And since I feel strongly that we can never have enough Christmas quilts in our lives, I'm giving away a roly-poly of Christmas Adventure. So, and some of you aren't sewing with Christmas Adventure, so hopefully even if you are, this is still fun. This goes great with my Holly Jolly quilt pattern, but you can use it in any pattern that works good for 2.5-inch strips. So these are the same as jelly rolls. We just call them roly-polies at Riley Blake, but it's the same concept. So you get all these great strips of Christmas Adventure. And then to further confuse you with all the holidays, I have 2 cute little dish towels for you guys. Since we're almost in fall, we have September next month. These are a set of 2 tea towels from Lori Holt. They are called Autumn Love. So if you guys remember her Autumn Love collection, I think that was last year, maybe 2 years ago. This is based on it, and they look pieced. They're so cute, you guys. So this front one is a pumpkin with the little crow, and then there's sunflowers on the sides, and it has these like really sweet little stitching details. And then the back one is so perfect for all things pumpkin spice. It says thankful and plaid and hayride, cider. It has all these really cute little stitched phrases on the back. So it comes in a set of 2. You get both of those. And my brand new, I don't even have them yet. They're shipping on their way here. Cat pins, you guys. These have been back, well, they were planned to come out, I think, last fall, and there was some manufacturing problems and COVID problems, and we finally have them, and I am so excited, you guys. So what I have here is a set of 60 pins. They're really nice and sharp. They're 2 inches long, and they have cat heads on the end. And so it's like a little aqua cat on the top. They're so fun. So, and you would be one of the first people in the world to get these. And since they are on their way here, I have opened up, I don't do this very often, but I've opened up a pre-order for these. So if you go to today's video description, you can find a link to the cat pins on my shop and you can pre-order them. Now I said they'll ship anytime, they'll ship in the next 2 weeks. Because I don't know exactly when they get here, I don't have an exact date for you, but they are arriving in stores. I believe mine are on the way. If they aren't, they will be in the next day or two, and so they will be here very soon. But I just wanted to give myself a little grace. I can't 100% guarantee when they'll get here, but I have a limited number for pre-order, and then I'll have more in the shop as well. So if you want to get some of them right off the bat, then I would go ahead and pick them up now, and I'll ship them as soon as I get them into you. And they are, since they are pre-order, I'm asking for you guys to not check out. So if you check out with the pins in your cart, don't add a bunch of other things. If you have other things to purchase, just please do it as a separate order, because it makes the shipping really hard to manage if I'm trying to ship one thing now and then another thing in 2 weeks. So I hope that doesn't mess you up at all, but I wanted them to be available to you if you guys really are liking them and are excited about them. And how cute is the packaging? It's a cat. I love it. So really, really fun, you guys. And I hope you guys like these. I'm super excited about them. So the cat pins are available, and our winner for this week will get them first. So that is this week's giveaway. The cat pins, the Christmas Adventure Roly-Poly, and the really cute set of Lori Holt's tea towels. So it's going to be a fun giveaway week. Hey, Tracy. I'm sorry you've been sick. That's not good. Hi, Jennifer. Valeria. And Leslie. I'm glad you're here. Val's here. Oh, I'm so glad you guys like the pins. Adventure Mini Quilts, let's see, is in the Happy Little Stitch box. That's right. There is a, somebody posted a photo of a quilt that is a mini quilt that was in the Happy Little Stitch box, and I have, if you look for that video in the Facebook group, you can find out more information. Angela is adding more boxes in the next week. I think, not this week, but next week. And I will have the pattern available for sale at the end of September as well. So, really fun. It's called, I don't even remember what it's called. Holiday Adventure. That's what it's called. Yay! Oh, and we have several people doing all the trimmings. And Jan said that there are 9 blocks in the RBD and the Building Blocks Challenge. Thank you, Jan. Oh, I'm so glad. Cheryl, there are 60 pins in the pack and they are 2-inch long pins each. So it's a nice big pack, and it's hard to tell, but they do come in like a little plastic box so you can keep them organized if you don't want to put them in a pincushion. However, they would look really cute all stuck in a pincushion as well. So there are 60 of them, and they're 2 inches long. I'm so glad you guys like them. Yay! Okay, so this is going to be a fun, quick week, you guys, and I thought it would be great to talk about fussy cutting. So we only have a few pieces in this block, and I'm going to show you again. We are doing the Christmas Adventure Sew-Along. In fact, let me show you our schedule real quick. So this is where we are. This is row 5, the ornament row. And if you are just starting, don't feel like you're behind. These videos are going to be available for you to watch at any point, so you don't need to worry about, stressing out. We don't stress out around here. So this is row 5. This is our ornament week, and then next week we will do the gifts, and then we'll have trees, and then we're going to put it all together. And I'll have a few tips for you on how to sew your rows together, how to make sure they're all the same length, and all that kind of thing at the end. Don't stress too much if they're a little bit off at this point. We're going to fix all that. So this week we are doing our ornament blocks, and these are cute and small, and they go together really quickly, and they are perfect for fussy cutting, like our little camper block. Now with fussy cutting, you need to keep in mind that it does use more fabric. Because you are not cutting right at the end, you are cutting more, not maybe necessarily in the middle, but it could be in the middle if there's a specific thing that you want to cut out. you're going to use more fabric. So keep that in mind when you are working with your prints. You might want to try and get close to the edge, or you can look at your fabrics and see what you need coming up in the next 2 blocks, which are the gifts and the trees, and just kind of plan, especially if you're working with a kit. You don't want to be cutting too much in the middle of something without leaving your room for things. And really that's mainly the trees that we're going to use so much green in those, so you're going to want to leave enough space. You could even cut your trees out first if you wanted to, and then see what you have left for fabric and kind of go from there. Pretty much the camper prints you should be fine with, and the text prints, because they're, you know, we haven't used a ton of those. You should be able to get your fussy cutting done pretty easily without causing you a problem with your quilt. So I am going to talk a little bit about that. We are going to talk about fussy cutting, but I'm going to switch cameras here real quick, which means I have to rearrange all the things. Okay. Ooh, my dogs are going to bark. The mail is here. Okay, so let me scooch over here just a little bit so you can see me still, and then I'll scooch over more. So I wanted to talk to you guys a little bit about fussy cutting and how I do it. Now there's probably lots of different methods for this, but this is how I do it. So what I like to do is work with a piece that has my print. I cut this piece. I wouldn't normally cut off a piece and then cut out of it. You know, I would just use my fat quarter as the piece, but I didn't want that whole thing here. And then I like to use a smallish clear ruler. And the reason I like it to be pretty clear is I want to see underneath it what I am trying to use as my fussy cutting of my piece. So you want to take into consideration how big your block is. So for our A pieces, those are all of our print pieces, they are 3.5 inches. So you want to kind of find a piece, a section that you want to use that is got plenty of space to cut 3.5 inches, a 3.5 inch square out of. So what I want to do for this ornament block is I want to fussy cut the phrase Holly Jolly. So I want that to be in the middle, in the center of my block. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my little ruler here, and I'm kind of looking for 3.5 inches. So I know that that is how big I want my block to be, but I want to center that phrase in the middle of my block. So what I'm going to do is take halfway from 3.5 inches, which would be 1 3/4, and I'm going to place that down so that the 1 3/4 mark, which is right here, is in the center of my Holly Jolly phrasing. So the word holly starts and ends here, so I'm just kind of eyeballing that 1 3/4 mark is halfway. So now I know that from this side to this side my block will be centered. But I need to do the same thing on the top and bottom, or else the block will be off center from top to bottom as well. So because I'm using a square, I'm going to go down 1 3/4 to right here, and I'm going to move my ruler down until the 1 3/4 line is halfway. And fortunately this word is 2 words high, so I'm putting it kind of right between the holly and the jolly. Can you guys see that? Let's see if I can kind of scooch down a little bit more so you can see a little bit better. I'll move it back up in just a second. So you can do the same thing with the word joy. You would use the same measurements. So I would find the 1 3/4 mark, and I would put that right in the middle of the word, which in this case is the O. And I would take the 1 3/4 down mark, and I would put it again right in the middle of that O. And you can double check your work by checking how much space is on either side. So if I look where my O ends, it's about 3/4 of an inch from the end of my ruler, and my J is about 1/2 an inch. Well, it's actually about 3/4 of an inch too. So I know that my word is centered. I would always recommend you double checking, and leaving enough space, because even when you are checking your measurements carefully, sometimes you can be a bit off. So now I'm going to go back to Holly Jolly here. I'm making my 1 3/4 mark right here. That's right through the middle of Holly and Jolly, and my 1 3/4 mark down is right between Holly and Jolly, so that you can see that my word is pretty centered. I've got about a little over 1 1/4 inches on this side, and I've got a little bit about, I'm going to scooch it over just the tiniest bit, a little over 1 1/4 on that side too. So it's pretty close. So now what I'm going to do is go ahead and cut out 2 sides of my block. And make sure if you're cutting more than one side at once, so if you're cutting this side and the top, that you keep your fingers out of your way, because it's real easy to get distracted and cut your fingertips off. I don't want you to do that. Please don't do that. Okay, so now you can see I've cut the left side and the top, and so I'm going to flip my block or my fabric and do the same thing, but I'm going to go ahead and line it up on the 3.5 by 3.5 lines. So that's right here and down. And before I cut, I'm going to double check. Okay, does this feel like the Holly Jolly is about in the middle of that square? It does feel like that to me. I feel okay with that. It's a little bit closer to the bottom than the top, but because the top of the H goes up, it's fine with me. It's a little bit easier when you're dealing with a picture as opposed to, well, it depends on the picture. If you're working with a camper like this one, it's pretty easy to see where the center of this image is. So you're going to run your 1 3/4 line right about here and right about here, so that your camper is centered in that block. So I'm going to go ahead and cut the remaining 2 sides since I feel like it's pretty good. And now I've got my fussy cut little phrase with Holly Jolly right in the middle. So that is how I would do any fussy cutting for these ornaments that you want to do. And that's the same method I use anytime I'm fussy cutting anything. So I just find the halfway point of the block I'm cutting out, and I use that as a guide when I am placing my ruler on top of my fabric. And if you have another method that you like to use for that, please feel free to do it. I just wanted to show you how I do my fussy cutting, and hopefully that's helpful. Hi, Michelle. All right, so does everybody feel good about that? Everybody feels good? Okay, so first we're going to sew on our corners, which are our D background pieces, and we're using that stitch and flip method that we have used on almost all the other blocks. So I'm going to place one of these background pieces on each corner, and I am not drawing my lines. You guys remember that I do have my little ruler here, or my laser guide. You can see it on my machine. There. So what I'm doing is I'm going to sew across the diagonal on all 4 of these sides. So I'm going to go ahead and start that. Scooch over just the tiniest bit. If you guys have any questions about the fussy cutting, please let me know, and I will do my best to answer them. Okay, so I'm just sewing across these. I did on some of these smaller blocks, especially the Holly blocks. Well, that didn't cut. I went ahead and shortened my stitch length just a little bit because they are smaller pieces, so it makes it a little bit easier and less likely for you to have any of those stitches pull out at the top and bottom once you're starting and stopping your sewing. So I shortened up my stitch just a little bit on some of these smaller ones. I'm going to cut that off. So what I've done is I have sewn a diagonal line across my background fabric from the bottom to the top, and I'm going to repeat that step with all 4 of my corners. And we're making those rounded kind of, it's also called snowballing. If you've heard that phrase, it's the same thing. We're making a rectangle into as close to a circle as we can get without sewing curves by using background fabric as our corners. And it looks kind of more like a diamond while the sashing isn't on it, but once we sew that sashing on, it'll round out those corners really nicely because it takes off 1/4 of an inch all the way around, and so it gives it even more of a rounded look. So don't fret if once at this point your little squares aren't looking very, very round. We will get there. And as I have said before, I am using all my little alphabetties. They are so helpful with all the different pieces of this quilt, and I do have those linked in today's video description as well at Fat Quarter Shop. But you can also check your local quilt shop. A lot of places carry those. Keep forgetting to cut my thread, silly. So you can check those out, and they will make this a whole lot easier. You can also make your own if you would like to. They're easy to make with little post-it notes or index cards if you want to cut them up, or scrapbook paper, whatever you like. So here's my cute little fussy cut block. I have sewn diagonally all 4 corners of my piece. And as you're making all of these blocks, you can do them all individually and then trim them all together, or you can sew all of your top left corners on and then all of your top right corners or something like that if you want to do a lot of chain piecing. However it is easiest for you. So now I'm going to trim off all those corners, and I'm lining up this line, which is 1/4 inch away from the edge of my ruler, on my seams. And I'm going to go ahead and place this on 2 sides. So this is the 1/4 inch on this side, this is the 1/4 inch on this side, and they're both on the seams. And I'm going to cut off 2 corners at once. And again, my little disclaimer, watch your fingers please. So now I've got 2 of those cut, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So I'm just lining up my seam so they're nice and straight, and I'm going to trim these off. Okay. So really easy. Looks sort of like a ball here. And I am going to press these open so that it forms the ornament. And I'm pretty sure my iron turned off while I was talking. So I would love to know if any of you, we're going to have to wait till that heats up, so that's awesome. If you have done much fussy cutting before, if you like to do it, if it drives you crazy, I would love to know. We're going to press that in a minute. I'm just going to keep going here, and I'm going to sew the top portion of the ornament block together. So when I cut these out, I used the red and the green. You can use the white and gold as well, or you can choose one of the other prints that you seem to have extra of. It doesn't matter. And I went with opposite prints for my ornaments. So if it was red, I tried to make sure I wasn't using a red ornament just because I wanted that contrast. You can do it however you'd like. It doesn't really matter. And then on the quilt, I alternated red and green. So just keep that in mind when you are sewing your pieces together. It's really fun to kind of plan that stuff out. So I'm going to take, this is the B print piece, and these are E background pieces, and I'm going to sew one on each side for the top of my ornament. This would look cute with the gold print as well, or you could even do like a solid if you wanted to pull out, if you have some of the gray extra from the trunks of the trees or the wheels of your tire, you could do that as well if you wanted a real strong contrast, or if you have a gold glitter or something like that, it would be really fun to do that as well. So these are the B and E pieces. This is the B print piece, and I have sewn it so that the E background piece is on either side. And we'll see if we are, yes, we are warm enough to get on with things. You will also want to keep track of, if you are using directional fabrics, when we go to sew these together, you're going to want your pieces of your ornaments to be facing up. So keep that in mind when you are working. It doesn't matter when you're sewing the corners on, because you're going to sew the exact same size piece on all 4 corners. But when you are working with the next step, you're going to want to make sure that your piece is facing up. So you want the top of this square to be up against the top of your ornament. Oh. Valerie, I hope you feel better. Sorry about that. Sharon loves fussy cutting. Yay! I'm so glad. And Jan, you haven't done a lot of fussy cutting. You'll have to let me know what you think of it if you do any. So now I'm going to go ahead and place the top of my ornament on my ornament piece. And we're going to just sew across. And ta-da! We are done with our blocks. These are so much faster than the camper blocks, you guys. So now I've got my cute little top of my ornament on here, and you can see that once we add in the sashing on either side, that it will really round out, and the bottom, I guess, it will round out that ornament so that it makes it a lot easier to see that round shape. So I found these were easy to press with the seams open at this part, just because it's quite a bit of bulk at the top of the ornament with all the stitch and flip pieces. So I did press them open, but if you don't want to do that, you don't have to. So there is our cute little holly jolly ornament. I think that these would be really sweet ornament gifts too, if you kind of just made it into like a mini mug rug and, you know, put white sashing all the way around the outside and then made it up for Christmas. I think that would be cute. Or as a Christmas ornament, an ornament. That would be amazing. Okay, I'm going to shift back to my regular camera and we will chat. Okay, you guys, how fun were those? I think that they will be a nice break after we have all the many pieces all the way up to X of our campers. And we have a few pieces in our Christmas gifts next week, but they go together pretty easily. They're not a super complicated block, so I think those will be fun. And you can do fussy cutting on those as well. These are a great block to practice on because they aren't a huge giant piece. So if you are off a little bit, you can cut another one without causing great damage. But you can also practice on a piece if you have something that you see that you're not going to really use, or if you have a piece of fabric that is a scrap, you can practice your fussy cutting first. Make sure that you have the piece centered afterwards once you cut it, and that you kind of got the right gist of it, and then you can practice, and then you can cut out on your regular quilt fabric. So I hope those go together quickly and easily for you guys. And oh, Debbie, no worries. Hi, Wendy. I hope you guys have fun with those. Don't forget to enter this week's giveaway. If you are late, this is our prize for this week. It is a roly-poly of Christmas Adventure. And if you really have your heart set and you would rather start us, I'll let you switch that out if you're our winner. So you can pick. But right now I have Christmas Adventure. And then a set of 2 Lori Holt Autumn Love tea towels. These are both so cute, you guys. I want a set for myself. And my brand new cat pins, which I have put the pre-order link in today's video description. If you want to pick up a set of cat pins, now would be a great time to do it because you'll get them very early. As soon as they get to me, I will get them in the mail to you. And just to keep in mind, if you would please not check out with the cat pins with anything else. If you have another order to place, do it separately. And speaking of which, today is the last day you can get the Vintage Garden quilt pattern for only $5. And we will have a new one tomorrow. I'll definitely post in the group what that is. But don't forget that if you are wanting that quilt, this is a great price. $5. Super cheap. All right, friends. Thanks for hanging out with me today. I will see you next Monday live for our gifts, which I also think would make a very cute mug rug block by themselves. We're going to have a blast putting those together. And I will be sharing some other fun things this week. So I'll see you around in the Facebook group and on social media. If you are on YouTube, I would love for you to hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss any other videos. I also have a brand new embroidery tutorial series that will be on YouTube only. It's going to be coming out in the next couple weeks, and I'm going to release a new video every week, starting with the basics of what supplies you need for embroidery, and then we will go into transferring and what several different methods for transferring your patterns are. And then we're going to start stitches, and we will have a new stitch pattern. My goal is every week, and a tutorial for those, so that I will have video tutorials for every stitch that I use, and it's just going to be a blast. So, and those are not going to be live, those will just be regular videos. So if you're over on YouTube, make sure you hit that subscribe button so you don't miss any of those. So, thanks for hanging out with me today, you guys. I hope you have a fabulous week, and stay safe. I'll talk to you later.